Good evening. It is hump night, or hump day, or hump something. Maybe you're not humping anything. Anyways, it's Wednesday night, and believe it or not, we are going to talk about a Blumhouse movie and a Universal movie that is not titled Halloween. Although we're also going to talk about Halloween, so I guess I've lied 4 minutes and 20 seconds into this evening. How convenient. Facebook user says hi. Hi, Facebook user. I can't display your name. It's just a new thing Facebook's doing. I would, but I'll have to address you as Facebook user for now. Or you can check us out on YouTube. If you just punch in Fandom Empire on YouTube, the live stream should pop up, and you can join, subscribe, join in on the fun. Riding this one solo tonight, and just want to remind everybody, click the like button, flash the notification bell, leave a comment, share your thoughts, good, bad. Let me tell you, we're going to be sharing some bad thoughts tonight. Although they're not necessarily mine, but we're going to be sharing them. Big thanks to our patrons. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here. Honestly, it means the world. Obviously, the amount of content we've put out the last couple of months pales in comparison to the last couple of years, but things have started to take a new direction. We're really happy where things are going. Also, last but not least, the sponsors. Colleague Nation, Ryan, what he does over there, Jesse at Storytime Spectacular, and our guide, Jason Knight. Backtrack Cinema. Check him out. By the way, dude, you put out so many pre-produced, big, long videos that I have to wonder if your ass hurts after doing it, because anytime I'm sitting down editing, by the end of it, it feels like someone's just poked me in all the wrong ways. Speaking of Backtrack Cinema, he's here right now. What's going on, man? If you want to get in on this, I don't know if you have any availability. Availability is going well. Hit me up, Jason. I'll send you a link. If not, then you guys are stuck with me. Anyways, tonight we're talking The Exorcist Believer. That's right. Might have jumped the gun on that Rotten Tomatoes page. Dude. Didn't love Believer. Enjoyed the first hour despite some definite nitpicks, but felt like the last 30 minutes were kind of awful, which sucks because I wanted a good film. Thankfully my kids are already there, man. So I took care of the 3-year-old, and the missus had her hands full with our little devil of a 1-year-old daughter. So, feel your pain. Actually, I probably don't, but it is what it is. Jade probably feels it more than I do. John, what's going on, man? I'm well. I'm excited to dive into this. I wasn't sure what we were going to do tonight. And it kind of depended on the availability of someone else, but that didn't turn out. So we're here, and we're going to talk The Exorcist, because why not? It's relevant to horror. And I do know that there's a full-length Thanksgiving trailer. I'm hoping I might be able to do a reaction to that tomorrow. It won't be super high quality because I'd have to do it very quick. I've not watched it yet. I've not watched it in hopes of being able to do that reaction. But from what I understand, I watched the first one. I haven't watched I think it's like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. A lot of positive feedback from that. People are excited about that movie. I'm excited about that movie. People are probably a lot less excited, though, at the moment about The Exorcist Believer, which is coming in at a rotten 24% on Rotten Tomatoes after 80 reviews. Now, we're not talking a half a dozen or a dozen or even 24 reviews. We're talking 80 verified reviews, and it's sitting at 24%. and we're going to talk about all sorts of things tonight pertaining to this movie. But it sounds like Dude in the chat has seen it. I just want to pull up his message again. Didn't love Believer. Enjoyed the first hour despite some definite nitpicks, but felt like the last 30 minutes were kind of awful, which sucks because I wanted a good film. So months ago, man, I heard from someone who had seen an earlier cut of it, not the current cut, although they've seen that cut too. Someone that we relied on heavily for a lot of the Halloween information that we got over the course of the last 3 years or so. And they told me, and I quote, that The Exorcist Believer is going to be just as divisive as Halloween Ends, if not more. You're going to have people that love the bits of nostalgia you get in it, but that the last act of the film was just downright terrible. And one of the first comments we got here tonight basically verifies that. We've talked about this on the channel before. I don't know if Dean Renner's around. I know he's busy rubbing shoulders with Steve Aoki somewhere. Lucky bastard. But anyway, I know Dean's excited to go see this film, and I'll see it eventually. Not going to pay for it in theaters, but Jeff Snyder on the hot mic a couple of months ago put out there that he had heard David Gordon Green might not be back for the second and third films, at least as the director, and that he might just have a producer title. And this film has been basically, again, I'm just going off of secondhand information. I have not seen it. But I trust, basically with my life, the person it's coming from. So I heard that the film was basically an abyss. And while it has some positives, there's a lot of negatives. And just it really has, that whether you like Halloween Ends or not, you'd have to be living under a rock to not really understand the dark cloud and divisiveness that hangs over that film in social media, or on social media. And I do think this is going to be very much the same. We're going to dive into some of these reviews here soon. Modern Scripts, by the way, share your thoughts below what your expectations were for this film. If it's surprising that David Gordon Green and Blumhouse and Universal seemingly just keep dipping down in quality, or I would say this: it wouldn't matter if the film has 14%, it has 24, but even if it had 14% or even 4%, you should always go see a movie for yourself or watch a TV show for yourself, because you might be someone in that 24%. You might love it. I might love it, but not from what I've heard. It's a far cry from Dr. Sleep, is what I was told. Modern Scripts Productions says, hello, the new Thanksgiving trailer looks really good. I heard it was badass. I've heard nothing but positive things about that movie, and I honestly cannot wait to go see it. It's probably my most anticipated movie to go see between now and the rest of the year, and I'm looking forward to that. Lorraine says, all I want the new Exorcist sequel to do is mention Damien at least once. And then Dude, I guess, minor spoiler here. I'm going to pull up his comments. So I don't want to spoil anyone too bad. So if you don't want anything spoiled for you, maybe look away from your screen or mute the stream for a couple of minutes. But Dude says, he is sort of alluded to for about a millisecond. And Chris McNeil blames the patriarchy for Marin and Kara's not including her in Reagan's exorcism. Seriously, horribly stupid moment in the film. No, it's fine, man. We talk about spoilers on this channel. I gave the warning. So I just heard that the creative choices that are made in this film and the creative liberties that are taken don't sit well at all with, a lot of fans of the franchise. John says, I'm not a big Exorcist fan or of that particular subgenre. but I was hoping it would be a solid movie for the ones who are. Yeah, I never want something to be terrible. I'm definitely not tooting my own horn in terms of, we said it was going to be terrible. We heard that there was a lot of issues with the film. That didn't necessarily mean it was going to be terrible. I held out hope, but it's looking very bad. That said, opening weekend comes and it's a huge, massive success at the box office, and all of a sudden the narrative around it changes. Yeah, creatively and critically, it's doing poor. But if it rebounds with a just super positive box office draw, then I think that's going to change things. Let's dive into some of these reviews, though. I'm excited, and I'll be honest, I haven't read any of them yet. So you want to talk about raw reaction? This will be it. Let's dive into 80 of these reviews. If I can, this is where you really need multi-screen, which I do not have. Brian Eager, Friedkin's film convinced audiences that the devil existed, so God must too, right? Green doesn't convince us of anything aside from Hollywood's rare ability to strip mine franchises until they're creatively barren. Wow. I apologize for that noise that you might hear in my background. I have no fucking idea what's going on outside. I believe my spouse has gone to check. Let's hope it's not Michael. I'm not prepared for that fight. Let me make these a little bigger. That way we can all actually read them together. So yeah, that first one, not great. 2 out of 4. David Poland says, in what meeting did they decide, let's not have an Exorcist in our Exorcist sequel? I guess that's spoiler. He should have gave a warning there. Instead, let's do an ensemble melodrama like the 1970s existentialist hippie dramedy with occasional bouts of disgustingly possessed, just near their first period girls. Yikes. Tell us how you really feel, David. And I will refer back to the chat if you guys want to react to some of these too. Again, this is new for me and fresh. Carla Hay of Culture Mix. The Exorcist Believer will make you lose faith that there can ever be a movie in this series as outstanding as 1973's The Exorcist. This sad excuse for a sequel is a mismatch of exorcism cliches, disjointed scenes, and underdeveloped characters. So David Gordon Green dropped the ball is what I'm getting from this so far. Tim from the Daily Telegraph says, it's truly embarrassing how little imagination is flexed all around. Limp stabs at awe-inspiring set pieces such as a white girl having a fit in the church are just thrown over the composers to beef up. Okay. Wow. Troy, what's going on, buddy? Even though I'm not a fan of The Exorcist, I never want to see a movie bomb. Well, I can tell you critically right now, bombing is an understatement. John Hayes says, and they invested $400 million into the rights. That's correct. They invested $400 million into the rights to be able to do these 3 movies. That does not include the production budget for the movies, nor the marketing. I would say right now, in a way anyways, this doesn't help the Halloween rights being sold. Not to say it's going to prevent it, but, they paid a shit ton of money for this content, which will eventually go exclusively to Peacock. And, streamers, studios, they pay so much for exclusive rights these days. It's kind of just maddening how much money gets thrown out there. And this seems like not just a surefire loss. This could be catastrophic, at least from a public perception point of view, when it comes to Universal and Blumhouse. Not going to read every single one either. I'll try to find some good ones. There's not many. John from Nerd Reactor. The Exorcist Believer's third act becomes a jumbled mess because they're trying to introduce other elements. So, I think you could perceive that maybe a little bit on the positive side of things, because at least they're trying to, introduce new things, and obviously you have to with 2 additional films to come, they hope. Diego says the Exorcist model 2023 doesn't have what? The Exorcist model 2023 doesn't have I don't, wow. Okay. Except for a certain nostalgic connotation and some surprise near the end. Any particularly outstanding attribute that differentiates it from the common habitual standard? Okay, so it's read full review in Spanish. So we are currently reading something that was translated. That explains. I had to sit there and like double take that one. Bryden Curry says David Gordon Green is not directing the next few films. He's already said it a while ago, so I'm happy about that. Well, that's good, because originally he was set to direct them, and Jess Snyder was the first one to report that he was going to be out on that, and I think that's the right call at this point. I think David Gordon Green needs to just kind of step away from the horror genre. I'm not saying the dude's not talented. Look what he did with Halloween 2018. But sometimes you just need to take a step back and step away. Who would have thought diving into another horror movie trilogy right after the way the Halloween trilogy ended would be a good idea. And they literally dove right into it. There was almost no time off. Lee says, unlike most modern horror movies, Believer shows great restraint in its opening hour, focusing on building the mood and framing a mystery that will ensnare many a viewer by the final act. Well, Lee, I'm not sure many people are agreeing with that take, but it's a positive one, so that's something. Peter says, viewed better as its own component under the lens of a religious drama with thriller connotations. It's 3 out of 5. It's listed as positive, but I question that. Dude is going to give his own review here. I was actually enjoying much of the first hour, though. There are many shots/moments from the trailers that aren't in the film either. Yeah, the film did go through extensive reshoots, which was a letdown. Acting was decent. Lydia Jewett, a highlight. But second half goes into a downright bad territory. I know people love Ann Dowd, but she starts off good, and then her lines become corny later on. Same with the others. Very tame compared to the OG, one scene aside. I think that sounds very genuine, so I can appreciate that. Sarah from Nightmarish Conjuring says, the Exorcist Believer overwhelmingly fails to believe in itself, relying on relying on the crutch of its IP to drive things forward. Well, I mean, if you're going to pay for the IP, you might as well use it. Allison from Flick Direct. Green, who also directs the movie, is not earning himself a great reputation in the horror film genre. Well, you don't say. It's almost like you missed Halloween Ends. And honestly, when you look at how the general public received Halloween Kills, I guess you could say that too, although I'm far more positive on that movie than others. John says, Sean, in your opinion, why do you think Blum hitched his wagon to David Gordon Green? Again, after he reportedly was trying to leave Halloween trilogy early and seemed burned out. Why do I think that? Hang on. Let me see if I can play something that will answer that question for you. You might know this theme, you might not. But it basically comes down to one thing, John, at the end of the day. And they can deny it all they want, but at the end of the day, in my eyes, it comes down to one thing. And you bring them back for 2 more Halloween movies, and now these 3 movies. Sorry, what was that? Money. Dollar bills. You cannot like the new Halloween trilogy all you want, but at the end of the day, you're talking north of $250 million just from Halloween 2018, which destroyed any previous box office standard set by that franchise. Halloween kills, albeit, I would say it's divisive too. I like it, but a lot of people don't. You're still looking at $100+ million return on a $23 million film budget, basically. That doesn't include marketing. Halloween Ends, more divisive, and yet found a way to still make more than $100 million. And it got killed by critics as well. I will say this, it doesn't look like he was waiting for the Shadow music. Here comes the... Yeah, that would have been good. That would have been good. I went retro, though. Hey, this film could be at 7% on Rotten Tomatoes in a couple of days. I don't think it'll get that bad. I can see it going up a little, to be honest. But if the film, turns around and comes close to $100 million opening weekend, not just in North America, but worldwide, and the thing takes home almost $200 million worldwide, I don't think, the studio themselves are going to be complaining all that much. Now, do I think it's going to do that? No, I think this thing is going to tank horribly financially too, and it's going to make people pause before spending insane amounts of money on horror movie rights, which again might hurt the Halloween thing. Dude says, the last thing I'll say, but while the first half of the film has little music, which was nice, the second half begins to have nonstop background score, which ruins the tension, and some corny music. David Gordon Green's style comes across as trying too hard to be stylish at times, like with most of Halloween Ends, minus the slow-mo and lack of Myers. John says, was waiting for this. Oh, right. I already read that one. Apologies. Dustin, David Gordon Green, it's a Vince Swagger walk. Oh, man. If I get the time, I should make a video of that. Yeah, I mean, hey, there's no doubting David Gordon Green's success. He's got a track record of being able to do something anyways. Wayne Gotke, still my favorite last name to say, buddy. The bottom line is people will go see bad movies even when they already know the movie is horrible via reviews. The only way to stick to studios is when people stop going and watching them. Exactly. I mean, I feel like I just made that point, but again, this thing could fall to 7% on Rotten Tomatoes and get crucified by 95% of YouTube content creators out there. And if the thing finds a way to make a lot of money, it's not going to matter. Sadly, it's very true. Wayne, again, with another great take. Is your first name Bruce and middle name Wayne? I've never asked you that. William Bibiani. Well, I've actually talked with William before, multiple times. Really good, down-to-earth dude. If you guys have ever watched the movie Trivia Showdown, it doesn't go on anymore, but he played a big part in that. And, the very few times I've had a chance to talk to William, he's been a very kind with his time and very straightforward and honest. He says, not ambitious enough to be interesting, nor is it powerful enough to get under the skin. It evades serious discussions of faith and uses the underlying depth of the series as a basis for little more than fan service and generic plot. That's crucifying, in my opinion. That review right there from somebody who has a incredible track record in the industry is basically telling you, in his opinion, they mailed it in short, is what he's saying. Matt from Paste Magazine says, Believer works fine as a rewound relaunch of the Exorcist franchise. Michael O'Sullivan from the Washington Post, If The Exorcist Believer is all about devotion to spiritual or at least cinematic faith, its failure to live up to the power of the first film, which made zealots of even the most cynical moviegoers borders on sacrilege. Here's a fair one. Alistair from Looper says, by no means a bad movie, but when you could be watching the original, by no means a bad movie, but when you could be watching the original instead, you'll need a lot more than the power of Christ to compel you to watch this. I thought it wasn't a bad review, and then I got to the end of it. So, I mean, points for creativity for sure. Troy says, it is a good call for David Gordon Green to step away from horror for sure. He's a talented director, and I think the dude wants to try other things. Green is burned out on horror. Yeah, I don't think he ever should have signed the deal that he signed. And it's a lot to chew. And look, he's a human being at the end of the day. If you think all these guys don't ever take a look at reviews, I don't know what to tell you, because most of them do. Hey, Lee McCoy, he's been on here. Believer tried the more is better approach. More victims, more religious denominations. None of it works due to choppy editing, a soulless story, a wasted return of Ellen Burstyn. Is that how you say that, guys? Burstyn? Guessing it's Burstyn. And a disastrous final act. And we're getting two more of these. Yeah, Lee, they kind of paid $400 million to make 3, and I don't think if they go back and say, hey, could we please have 2/3 of that money back, and we just won't make the other 2? I don't think that's going to work out too well for them. Let's check out this one. Empire Magazine. Ollie Richards. As a perfectly serviceable horror movie, it at least gets the Exorcist franchise back into respectable territory. But there was the potential for something much better. Well, I would say that's a very optimistic, positive review of this. And again, that's coming from Empire. So if you're holding out hope, Ollie Richards at least thinks there's something there. 95% of his colleagues thinks he's crazy, but we'll see. We'll do a couple more and then we'll move on and get ready to wind down. Matt Hudson. It's not perfect. It's arguably not great, but I found it satisfying and overall pretty damn good. It delivered on the performances, atmosphere, and expected cruelty despite a thin story and clear lack of identity. So even a positive review had some glaring negative shots in it. Where else are we going to go with this? The Digital Fix, Emma Jane Betts. Unfortunately, all our collective demon-filled fears have come to reality with The Exorcist Believer, a lackluster new chapter that fundamentally misunderstands the iconic franchise. And we'll go one more here. IGN just had a positive review of it, so there's that. Slash Film, Whitney Seibold. Whitney and William Bibbiani actually had a it's a little too late to unsend that message, but nice try. Whitney Seibold has a kind of pre-existing relationship with William Bibbiani. The two worked together on the Movie Trivia Schmodown. I don't know if they still do a podcast together or not, but two just really incredible minds of the industry in terms of diving into film. Green, free to narratively link his film directly to Friedkin's, only churned out another generic knockoff. It's the least interesting Exorcist film to date. 4.5 out of 10. Wow. So there you have it. How will The Exorcist Believer perform when it comes time for pardon me, when it comes time for the box office finals to come in. I think, given the time of year, I could see it being incredibly successful. I could also see it, not necessarily turning out the best. So let's shift topics here. We have oof. Yeah, oof is right, Dustin. Malaka Cat hints that a Halloween video game may be on the horizon. Yeah, so we have a brand new video up over on our Legacy of Halloween channel. If you're just finding out about that now, head on over, subscribe to it. You're only getting Halloween videos out there. We might live stream one day way down the road over there. Live streams for now will stick to Fandom Empire, but you'll get a lot of short form pre-produced Halloween videos over on that channel. And we're going through the struggle that every new channel does that, doesn't get a bunch of money put behind it. Growth is going to be difficult to begin with. So some of these, honestly, they're two of the better edited videos we've ever done. And it'd be great to see them get a little more attention. So head on over to the Legacy of Halloween on YouTube, subscribe, slash the notification bell to keep up with everything we got coming out there. And we dive into if Supermassive Games is going to have a hand to play in the Halloween franchise moving forward. Facebook user, kind of feel bad for David Gordon Green. It's not like he's trying to make bad films. Dude is just not that good at horror. Yeah, he's, trust me, the last thing this guy is doing is going out to sacrifice his own reputation. He wants to make more films. He wants to get paid. He's not, going, as much as some people might want to believe it, he's not going out to intentionally sabotage something. I know people might watch Halloween Ends and go, are you sure about that? But yeah, he's not intentionally sabotaging anything. He doesn't want to, hurt his career anymore. John says some of those reviews are the equivalent of she's got a good personality. Ouch, John. Ouch. Troy, I will have to check out that Halloween video game. That's really cool. Definitely, Troy. I strongly encourage and ask everybody to share the new channel around. We've for a long time wanted to do something that strictly takes place in the Halloween universe where we're just doing Halloween content. And we got so much. Like the next couple of weeks will just be dissecting stuff that was either rumored before and then touched on at H45. But our big special that'll come out this month is something that's still being worked on. And that is the inception of Halloween 4. We take you basically right from the time that they decide they're going to make Halloween 4, all the canceled versions of that movie that didn't happen right up to the release and how it was received and what the end result was. So it's a little love letter to Halloween 4. And those that have known me for years watching our content know that that's my favorite Halloween movie. So it just felt right to go with Halloween 4. Dustin says, ever play the Atari Halloween game? Dustin, how old do you think I am? The first decapitation in a video game history. It's so bad. You play as a babysitter and run from room to room rescuing kids. Michael kills the sitter and kids alike. I'm going to have to YouTube that. I know of it because my cousin used to go on about playing it. But I have not. My birthday's in 88, so that makes me 35. I'm a little still on the, despite the gray that's all coming in, I'm a little on the young side for to be playing Atari titles regularly. But yeah, Halloween the game, is it gonna happen? I think that's a question. Dustin says he was born in 88, but still played it. I never had an Atari, man. My first was an NES. I went NES, Sega, PlayStation. I didn't get a Super Nintendo until after an N64, so which was a shame because Super Nintendo was a great console. I just want to ask the chat, what do you guys want in a Halloween game? We dive into the various possibilities in that video over on the Legacy of Halloween. But, obviously it's been something the franchise could have done for a long time now. There are various versions of horror video games, whether it's Until Dawn, The Quarry, Heavy Rain, Friday the 13th, Manhunt back in the day. I don't know if you guys remember that for Xbox. That was a very controversial release. Predator. I don't know if I said Texas Chainsaw Massacre already. Dead by Daylight. There's so many. Resident Evil, obviously. There's so many different ways that you can go about making a horror movie game. Rockstar Manhunt was amazing. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't count on them making another horror movie game anytime ever, to be honest. But yeah, I remember renting that game. I don't remember much about playing it though. My buddy Greg and I played it for I think we had it for 3 nights essentially, and that was definitely the only 3 nights that I had ever played that game. And yes, GTA prints money, Red Dead prints money. They're quite okay over there doing what they do. I just think people need to keep realistic expectations on what to expect from a Halloween game. But I will say this: if you want to let your mind, go on a little bit of an adventure to think about the possibilities that are out there, I would say if you haven't played The Quarry, if you haven't played Until Dawn, and if you haven't played Heavy Rain, you need to give yourself an opportunity to play those games, because I said this line in our Legacy of Halloween video. It doesn't just, obviously the story is super immersive and the replay value is incredible because different decisions lead to different outcomes and you can kind of play the game over and over again. Like Heavy Rain, I think, has something like 57 different endings or something like that. So like that's a game that you literally could go back and play and play and play and play and get different versions of that story basically each time you play it if you make different decisions. And for me, like I look at that and go, wow, if they invested a ton of money into a Halloween game of that sort, that would be a lot of fun. I'd be totally for that. I don't think it's likely, but it would be a lot of fun. But yeah, what do you want in a Halloween game? Let us know in the comment section down below. And please be sure to check out the Legacy of Halloween. Again, it's going to struggle the first little bit because the algorithm's going to fight against us. But we're hoping to keep the quality of video over there very high and do all sorts of different things, whether it's news, rumors, just diving into lore, countdowns, rankings, you name it, we got it over there. Your one-stop shop for all things Halloween. Subscribe, join the Cult of Thorn. We have cookies and 2% milk. Anyways, Matt Whitfield's in the chat. He says, why do I feel like Halloween the game will kind of be like Friday the 13th concept? What can they do for it to not be like that? Well, the truth is, Matt, you're kind of killing my video here. I think that's what people need to expect, is the likelihood of getting something go watch the Legacy of Halloween video. Strongly recommend it to everybody. I give you an idea of how much it would cost in comparison to recent Halloween movies that have been made for them to do a game like that. And the answer is it's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. So check that out. Legacy of Halloween. Dustin says, have a great night. I guess he's taken off before we wrap things up here. Troy says, the Exorcist bombing hurts other IPs like Halloween, Nightmare, as far as movie studios not spending $400 million. You're not wrong. Well, hang on. You're not wrong. But we need to see what the box office return is on the movie. Again, it's being killed critically, but it could still be a financial success at the box office. Do I think that's going to happen? I sure as hell wouldn't bet on it, but it's a distinct possibility. And last but not least, I want to venture over into Star Wars a little bit. Star Wars Ahsoka. Oh, Halloween Ends is trending. Do I want to know why? Oh, God. Halloween Ends is the most thematically rich of the David Gordon Green trilogy. Corey Cunningham is a deeply fascinating character, a byproduct of Michael Myers and the psychologically damaging impact he's had on Haddonfield. It feels like a movie John Carpenter would have made. So I agree with his take on the Corey character, and the rest of it, I think the guy is batshit crazy. That's just me. But yeah. I want to, before we wrap up here, take our attention over to Star Wars. The Star Wars Ahsoka series had its season finale last night, which had some pretty big reveals. And, the main thing being that, honestly, that they have been very inside baseball with this series, which is unlike Disney Star Wars stuff, right? So, I just, again, even with The Exorcist, this is kind of the message I want to get across here, is regardless of how many people shit on something, it's 2023. Anything that comes out is either going to get praised to a level where it probably shouldn't, or it's going to get shit on to a level where it probably shouldn't. But there are people out there that run YouTube channels way bigger than this one who you will never get an honest take out of. They don't care. They're out there for one reason and one reason only: clicks, to peddle hate. Obviously, yes, we would like to get views and people to click the like button, and it's obviously beneficial when people sign up for Patreon or send in a super chat. I'm not saying that, but we're not someone who will go peddle hate for clicks. It's just not something that I believe in doing. It's fake, it's fraudulent, and whenever you see a YouTube channel that looks like this, 30,000 plus subscribers, but this is all their videos. Well, not all of them, but the vast majority of them have shit like this going on. You can't tell me that you don't look at this picture of 12 thumbnails and go, well, I can predict what their next take's going to be when the next, Star Wars product comes out. There's people that do this with Halloween too, and other horror properties and just fandom properties in general. They make money and gain attention by hating things, by having the same take for fucking everything. I can tell you right now, The Acolyte's going to come out in spring, and it's the worst finale ever. They failed. And you'll see this stupid fucking thumbnail with him putting his hands in front of his face going, oh no. It's okay to dislike something. We just read how many reviews of people hating on The Exorcist. But when you predetermine how you're going to feel about something before you even seen it, that's not honest. That's fake. That's fraudulent. And that's not something we do here. So just be on the lookout for channels like that that cover maybe some of the favorite properties you all follow. But anyways, Star Wars Ahsoka's in the books. I still think the Disney Plus series are too short. Even though this one had a little more time to breathe, 8 episodes is not enough. It feels like we're getting half seasons, and at the end, the storytelling suffers a bit. As a diehard Star Wars fan, the inside baseball stuff that they do in the Ahsoka series is honestly incredible and a lot of fun to follow and dive into. But for the average viewer, I think the further that they got in that series, the harder it was for them to follow. And maybe they'll come to a point where they explain a lot of that stuff. But I'm pretty sure most people that watched that finale last night and see Balin standing where he is have no fucking idea what the Mortis gods are and just how significant that is, because it's not explained. Just like when Ezra's having this moment earlier in the episode and he's talking about something, unless you've seen Star Wars Rebels, that scene will not hit for you the same way. You can tell your audience how they should feel all they want, but unless you've been there on the journey, it's not the same emotional feel as someone who has been there on the journey. So I do feel bad for casual fans in that regard, but I loved the series. So in this case, you know, the casual fans can deal with every other series that's meant for them, and I'll take this one. Anyways, that's going to do it for tonight. The Exorcist Believer is tanking horribly critically. David Gordon Green reportedly out of the next two movies in terms of the director's chair. Halloween, the video game. Check it out on the Legacy of Halloween. And we got a fresh Star Wars podcast weekly launching next week. It's really been going on for 7 weeks. Just we've only been reviewing the Ahsoka show. Now we'll actually get to dive into specific chosen topics. Anyway, though, for everybody at Fandom Empire and everybody in the chat tonight, thanks for hanging out. It was a lot of fun. If you're going to see The Exorcist, yeah, the reviews suck, but draw your own conclusion. You might like the film, or you might hate it. Have a great night. It is Hump Night.